For Monday, September 14th, 2015. We are back doing our development cast, although we're going to do it looks like we are going to do a abbreviated one today because today is my son has his day off school, so he's with me today. We're going to have to do a short cast. So we're on the eighth day of our development stream. We've been doing it for longer than that, but this is the eighth day of the stream, so to speak. To recap, last time to recap what we got done last time, we were working on importing from Blender to our game engine here, our 3JS based system, right? Which we had changed over from Pixie.js because I just wasn't in love with the API. So what I want to do today, we got 4 hours. I was going to cast for 4 hours from 12 to 4 here Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully we'll see some of our regulars will have the opportunity to pop in. You know, some folks who stopped by before work from Europe, etc. So what I'm going to do, I believe, today is we're going to create a simple little model in Blender, a little chiclet, so to speak. We had done like a little beveled box, and then we are going to use that model without any texturing or anything like that. We're just going to import that into the our engine, and then texture it programmatically, because we're going to look at some of the Blender examples for materials, and then we're going to texture material. We're going to create some materials and texture it programmatically after we import the model. So kind of a hybrid approach. Ultimately, we could probably do all of this in Blender. It's not that we can't do it in Blender, it's just that the export doesn't always work the way I expect, so we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to kind of do what works for now. We will ultimately, I suspect, figure all this out, but, and if you'll excuse me, I'm kind of just got out of the shower here. So, and I'm also going to be eating my lunch. And forgive me for chowing on camera, but we will do that. Okay, so you can see here we were kind of exporting. This is the DEA. We were kind of playing with different formats. One of the things we tried to see if we could load up with we could load everything up. This is the Collada format. It's XML. It's much more verbose. It's also a lot more complex. It allows you to encode a lot of different stuff, a lot more things, I believe, than the JSON format does. A little more. One moment, please. Hold on one sec. I will be right back with you. So let's get started. First of all, I think what we want to do, let's create a new we've been playing around in Blender, but we haven't actually created a project. So let's just go ahead and a moment here. Okay, hold on one sec. Sorry. I apologize for the interruption. Hey there, Adam. Pardon me. Thank you for swinging by. It's good to see you. So what we're doing today, just to recap here, we are going to do no sound. Is that better? I didn't have any sound for the first second because I was pausing it because I was I was bitching at my kid. So that was what he was making a ton of noise. So I had to kind of say, could you please quiet down? We're sharing a room, and so you're going to probably hear some ambient noise while I work, because I don't want to work with the headphones, quite frankly, because it hurts my ears with these glasses after a while. So I hope you guys don't mind. Hold on one second. It looks like my son needs some help. I will have to. I'm going to be back in 30 seconds. Tell you, my kid, he's like just turned around, like one of the things I always say on him. He turns it around and says it right back at me. Smart kid, too smart for his own good. Okay, so we are back here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a little Blender project. We're going to create hold on one sec again. For the last time, buddy, please turn that down. Please, buddy. I cannot think while that's that loud. You got to turn it down. Thank you. I don't mind you watching it, but you got to either that or take it to another room, okay, bud? Thank you. Last night was fine. That's just a bit too loud. So, again, pardon the interruption. My son is home from school today for Rosh Hashanah. His school has that off, apparently. So, he's my helper today. He's my assistant. And he just helped me by bringing me my nice calzone. Thank you, buddy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a little chiclet to represent like a tile, and then we're going to texture it. We're going to do it programmatically. We're still limited in our ability with Blender. Like, we're just learning. Actually, we had a guest last night. One of the things we did over the weekend is we did some really fun RimWorld streams, and we had some of the dev caster friends pop in too. So I know Cinder, I believe, was working. I might have this wrong, but I believe it was Cinder was saying he was working with Blender and was getting some progress. So hopefully he or she might stop by and help us figure our stuff out. So let's start by creating a Blender project. Now, one thing I have to do, this is like a weird Mac thing. Is it? Let's see. I want to get this on. Sometimes getting stuff onto the screen is hard. And let me just get set up. It's the full screen thing kind of. Why is this not working now? Oh, please excuse me while I figure out how to use my UI. Buddy, can you please turn that down? Or take it to the other room, please? Thank you. It's the screaming, buddy. The screaming from the people playing the game just drives me absolutely up a wall, buddy. You can't do that. Here we go. Now we got our Blender. Liam, my son is watching these YouTube videos of people playing basically all he does is watch videos of people watching Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's always like 12-year-olds who just scream at the top of their lungs nonstop the entire time, no matter what's happening on screen, whether anything's happening or not. They just scream to the point where the microphone is throttled and distorting like 99% of the entire video. I have no idea how he can watch this, but it really makes me want to kill myself listening to it. It's awful. But I have to tell him to stop every once in a while because it's just brutal. He loves it for some reason. I don't know how he can stand watching it, but he does. So let's first of all, let's save our actual project here, right? We haven't done any of this. Save as. Let's create a Blender project under our project. Actually, Vivaria demo. And I'm going to call this just tile for now. Save as Blender. Okay, very good. We will export this. So thanks again for stopping by, Adam. I appreciate you. Appreciate you swinging through. If anyone has any questions, comments, criticism, etc., just speak up. I would love to hear from you in chat. Now, oh yeah, I'm going to be covering, I can see here, we're going to be covering up a lot of, maybe I should move this stuff around, but again, likewise, if you want me to move the video or the chat or whatever, just let me know. I'll do that. So what do we do here? Last time, to get this the way we wanted, I got my cube, I applied a modifier. Oh, wait a minute, no, I wanted to scale it. Oh, no, not like that. I wanted to, what was it? How did I do this? I transformed by scaling lock. I think if I just, there's a way. Well, how do we do this? We did this great the other way. I think here it is. So on the Z, we want to scale 0.25. Right, because I want to make a little tile like this. Now we're also going to add one quick modifier. And modifiers, again, the point of a modifier is that Blender is only going to store, even though this is going to be beveled, it's only storing these 8 points. But you will see that as we add a bevel, and what are some of the others we want? Edge split, screw, remesh, skin, solidify, subdivision surface, triangulate, wireframe. Okay, very good. We have deformations, simulations. We're going to get all into that stuff. That's kind of advanced stuff that we're just learning. For now, let's just create a bevel. And that's pretty much exactly what I want. But instead of 0.1, I think we want it more like, we want a little more. Oh, we're scaling. Here's the problem. I got it. Remember we went into this before. Let's remove this modifier. Notice our chiclet, right? The bevel is scaled. Although that actually kind of looks nice. Why don't, you know what? That's fine. That is fine. Save our file. Yep. Our tile, right? That is just fine. I like that. Really. Now, of course, the only problem is really what I wanted this is I want this beveled, but I want it to go out to a point. So I don't want to bevel the corners exactly, but we'll get to that. That's because we're going to have little gaps when we stack these together, and I don't really care. There'll be like a little square here that'll be empty. For now, I don't really care about that. Because I don't know how, one thing is that you can bevel the whole thing. I don't know how to bevel just part of it, right? We're going to have to figure out how to do that. Limit method, angle, weight, vertex group. Oh yeah, see, this is where I wanted to do. I think this is how I want to do what I want to do. I create a vertex group by selecting the vertices that I would like to be involved in the bevel, so I can selectively. We tried this last week and couldn't figure it out. For now, let's just we'll improve this as we figure it out. So if we export to 3JS, we want vertices, normals, faces, UVs. We don't care about UVs. Oh yeah, we do want. I don't think we care about faces. Oh yeah, we do, because 3 actually wants those. That's not a bad thing to have. Right, geometry, buffer geometry. I'm not going to worry about shading because we're gonna put that on ours. We don't have any skeletal info. We don't care about animation. We do copy textures, but we don't have any textures. This looks right to me. Really, we care about the vertices, normals, faces. Does everyone understand what we're talking about here? Hey, what's up, Cloper? Welcome. Good to see you, man. Welcome back. We are just gonna go. We're gonna do some texturing experiments today. I'm just creating a little chiclet that we're going to export to assets here. In fact, I'm going to call it tile JSON. That's perfect. Right. We should automate this too. Good to see all our friends back here. Again, thank you for, again, I appreciate, sorry for the abbreviated cast today. Today is, what is it, Rosh Hashanah, and my son's school is out, so he's with me today. I can't really dedicate the entire day to development, unfortunately, but we are going to try to get some good work done today. So I will be going till at least 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is what, 11 a.m. GMT. And then hopefully we'll do like a bonus cast later tonight. We had a lot of fun doing the RimWorld over the weekend. If you guys can make it, it's the RimWorld casts are a lot of fun. And we name colonists after followers. It's a lot of fun. So if you can make it, we'd love to see you there. So let's export this, and then we'll go take a look. All right, so back to our, now let's go back to our code. I think I want to skip the full screen thing. The full screen thing wasn't working. Right, okay, I said the full screen thing wasn't working out for me, but not listening. Because I can't get the, how do I, see, this is the problem. I can't get at the, for some reason, this one doesn't let me, oh, forget about it, we won't worry about that. Okay, let me look at the tile here. Ah, beautiful. So notice, this wasn't a scene, we just imported an object. We just did this is just an object, right? Attributes, normals, and here is the actual normal value. And notice these are not, these would all be 1, -1, 0 if this was just a regular tile. But we have these, this is from the bevel. Here's our positions, item size 3, float array. Very good. Okay, so before we were rendering a whole scene, right? Let's go to our game. We were rendering a whole scene by getting it. Maybe we do want to put this in the scene. I think we do. Because we'd have to change our code, right? If we wanted to just load an object. We're going to have to, well, we could do that right now. Let me go back. Because we want to, the camera, I actually do want the camera. Can I help you, buddy? You okay? You need something? Don't let her eat your food. Mimi! Go lay down, please. Dog's trying to steal my son's food. Now where was, oh yeah, scene. Everything but materials. Logging verbosity. Indent JSON. Yeah. Try that again. What's up, buddy? You need help? Okay. Did you already finish eating that? Wow. Very good. All right. So where were we? Why is that there? Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. That's why. Yeah, well, I was hoping you would just override it, guys. Delete. Yep. Crash. Okay. Now here's a good question. Does our camera... Oh, look, it put the object up. It does seem to put the camera first. One thing we want to do... Oh, my son is 8. His online handle is generally Sharkbait. 3rd grade. Couldn't be prouder. We're like best friends. We hang out all the time. Play games together, play Minecraft, etc. We have a good time. Okay, here's our cube with our bevel. Very nice, and it's a buffer geometry. Does it even have a material? It doesn't even put a material on it, does it? No. Perfect. So the only real thing I want to do, the only real change I would like to make here to the code, real quickly, is when we get the camera, where do we do this? Camera equals object children here. Really what we want this to be is something like camera equals or we could do something like this. We could say camera equals and then like predicate. You know what I'm saying here? So the idea is, well, this actually should be a default predicate. So like what we want to do here is we can do 2 ways. We can just make it a global function, find camera, and pass it to the scene, and then we traverse it. Or we could say camera equals, we could add something to that, we could add up we could add a function, bind a function to the scene itself. They both do the same thing, it's just a different syntax style, right? This is kind of like the C way of doing it. This is like the C++ way of doing it. I believe, I think we just want to do, we have a traverse function, right? One quick question. Bookmarks, what was it? Now I want the actual API document. Now I believe because I was looking at the code. When I was looking at the code for something for one of these. See, one of these has a. I gotta find some document. I gotta find something that shows it. Find something here. The mesh. See if we can find because I swear to God I forget where it was, but it was like scene traverse. It would just like and it was a functional way of traversing the scene. And I've seen it in the code. They don't document it, but it's there in the code. So I'm trying to find where. Do you remember? Does anyone remember where we saw that? It was like, oh, it was last week. It's one of the things I don't like about 3JS. The documentation only has about maybe a third of what you really need. The important stuff is all in the code, and it's totally undocumented. The public API is not really what you need. The private API is absolutely necessary. That's okay though. I'm not too worried about that. How did we do this? Maybe it was object. I think it might have been object 3D. UUID, parent, children, position, rotation, scale, up, matrix, quantity. I think this is it, where it was. Methods. This is what we want. Look at, add, remove, traverse. That's what we want. Okay, so we're going to go through all our object. Yeah, how is everyone doing today? By the way, thank you, Adam, for asking. Thank you for picking up my slack. How is everyone doing today? Right, all right, Cooper. That's the place to start. You know where I'm at? Some of the first coding I ever did was back in the day, like the equivalent of like I don't know if they still have it, but like Mr. Dr. Dobbs or whatever. There was all these programming magazines, and what I used to do is they would literally print out entire programs in GW Basic or whatever in these things, and I would go in there and copy the whole thing, the GW Basic, the line by line, from a magazine. And oh, good. Well, that's good. Yeah. Good evening. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening, wherever you are. Happy New Year if you're in Israel. But yeah, I mean that's a perfect place to start. You got to start somewhere, and cutting and pasting is absolutely the right way to start. And then keep in mind, I mean, look at me. I've been doing this for God at least 15 years professionally, unprofessionally or casually, or this is what I'm looking for. For fun since I was probably my kid's age, and I still copy and paste all the time. Because why come up with something new if someone else has already solved it? Likewise, I could have written a traverse. Remember, we looked at this. I was using Lodash or whatever it was, or yeah, to make my own using the map and the map functions, etc. But they already had a traverse, so why not? So let's do this. This is actually, I think, going to be really easy. I'm just going to do a quick function. I'm going to do it globally first because we can always bind it later, right? So let's say find camera, perfect. Now, scene again is a 3D object, as far as I understand. So it should be okay if we just say find camera. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, we want scene. Everyone understand what's going on here? So we're wrapping up our scene traverse function, and we'll say if object like let's try this first of all. You should get, I believe, 3 objects here. See how well this works. And I'm just going to call this right here. Just, oops, that's not what we want. We can just do this for now. So I don't want to overwrite the camera. I just want to log within the find camera. We'll actually return something in a bit. For now, we're just printing. So let's go. Let's get our build, right? Gotta build. Why does this not work? See, in full screen, whenever I have this stuff full screen mode, so you don't have to see the application header, my my shortcut doesn't work anymore. Drives me nuts. Oops. All right, so let's build. I know you like the slim down. Would it be more interesting for other people to write your game in Unity or Real? I suppose so. A lot of people are requesting for Unity. Again, it's for me. It's the overhead of learning. I find learning APIs easier than learning GUIs. Blender is already more than enough for me to view GUI for me to have to deal with. I really don't like it. Just the only reason. It's again, if it is better, and again, if people are really demanding that we figure out some Unity stuff, then maybe I will. I don't want to be dependent on it. If I'm going to code in JavaScript, I don't see why I should have all the extra overhead of Unity. I mean, might as well just, if I'm going to code, I mean, if I wanted to do it in C#, which is not a bad language at all, I mean, then Unity would make more sense. You obviously get the whole asset store, which can be really helpful if you just want to, buy some quick assets to throw some prototype together. There's a lot of great reasons to use Unity. A lot of terrific reasons to use Unity. For me in my game, I just, it's more just a personal choice. I feel like this is what's going to make me most productive. That's the only reason I use this. I feel like if I was doing it in Unity, we would be spending literally like last week when we tried to use Blender. It was just, a full day of just banging our heads against stuff trying to figure it out. It would be a lot of that. It would be like, months of that with Unity. Whereas with code, I can just kind of bang stuff out. But the thing is, Unity isn't going to save you from doing any coding. It's not going to remove any code you have to do. It just allows you to do stuff you could do with code through a GUI. But again, then but the problem to me is if I'm going to do something through a GUI, you only want to do stuff you're only going to ever do once through a GUI. If you're going to do it twice, never use a GUI. That's the bottom line. If you're going to do it twice, you need to script it. If you're only ever going to do it once, then a GUI is fine. But if you're going to do something twice, you want to automate it, right? There's no excuse to do something twice by hand in my mind, ever. That's just my principle. That's just kind of one of my development. If you're gonna do something more than once, then a GUI isn't the appropriate way to do it in general. My feeling. But again, it's my subjective, experience. Yeah, I think you're right, Cloper. And again, maybe we will do that. Maybe what we'll start doing is like some Unity noob casts that maybe aren't necessarily about this game specifically, but in more general purpose. We can try to do specific things like, okay, let's just try to get a model skin. Let's try to get let's play around with animation. When it comes to stuff like that, again, I think that Unity can be useful. I still don't see what Unity gives me that Blender doesn't. Is there something that Blender's giving Unity will give me that Blender? Oh yeah. Oh sure. Handmade Hero. I will check that out. In fact, actually, one sec. That's very useful because I hadn't heard of him. So let me note that down because I want to check out all the streams I can. Okay. Thank you. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I'll check it out. I think I might keep in mind too that I'm not really so worried about drawing people right now. Like tons of people. Like having Adam and Cloper here. You guys are fine. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a Unity stream specifically, then I'm not qualified. Is the bottom line. You know what I mean? I'm not. I can't really bring value in that sphere. If you look at all the people that are doing development on Twitch, there's people that are using Unity like way more advanced than I would be able to. So I would really prefer, I mean, it makes more sense, I think, to send them people that way than to, if I'm not providing what you're looking for, then you should probably find a stream that does. However, there's also value in understanding what's going on under the hood too, right? And then again, at this stage, I would mention I'm not too worried about followers. I'm really happy, for example, to have 1 or 2 people here looking over my stuff and someone to talk to. Like I've said before, the difference between 0 and 1 is an orders of magnitude bigger than 1 and 1,000 or 1 in a million even. Like, I mean, the difference between 1 and a million viewers is smaller than the difference between 0 and 1. And we're not using no library. We're using a lot of libraries here. If you look at our dependencies, we actually have quite a few. I mean, we're basically just using OpenGL under the hood right now. Like straight OpenGL calls. Everything we're doing with JavaScript, I could show you in libcinder in C++, and it'll probably take about the same amount of time and effort to do. And likewise, if you were experienced in Unity, you could probably bang this stuff out just as quickly. And you can script everything in Unity, and you can script everything in Python, using Python and Blender. It's just I don't see what Unity does that Blender does. I mean, you get the cross-platform stuff, but you kind of get that for free anyways with the WebGL. You can wrap that up. You can again wrap the native application shell around any website now. It's just a compile time option. I mean, I don't even have to do any work to do that. I just add a library. I tweak my build a bit, and I'll have cross-platform. I'm not so worried about that. And plus we'll be able to run it in the browser. Again, you can do all of this with Unity. Plus, I don't have to pay anything. I don't owe any. I don't have to worry about licensing. I'm not going to owe anyone a cut of anything right now. I mean, I have 100% control over everything. I'm using entirely open source tools, right? So I think there's some value in that too. It just depends on your application. If I had, say, an investor who was giving me $500,000 to start a company, I would be doing this differently. You know what I mean? I would hire someone to help me figure this stuff out. I would pay for tools. I would do that. But since it's just me and I'm the only one working on it really here besides my artist who doesn't have much to do yet. That's the justification. If everyone wants me to do Unity and you want to see me bang my head against that and figure it out, I will do that for you. We'll come up with a way to make sure. I'll make you guys happy. I really do want to be responsive to your guys' needs and your guys' interests. So if really no one really wants to see me doing it the way I'm doing it, I can always do this by myself and stream something else, right? And I also plan on getting, as the development goes on, I plan on doing more and more Let's Plays and game development. I am going to also ultimately get a game rig, build it online, show you guys how I'm going to optimize it, overclock it, cool it, etc. And then we'll start doing more game streams as well. For now, that's the way I'm doing it. So, but as you said, you've seen, I've already changed array, right? I started off using Pixie.js and said, screw it. I'm going to use 3 instead. Maybe I say, screw it, we're going to use the Unity extend. There may be a good reason for that at some point. As I've said, the flexibility to easily change the tools I'm using has a high value to me. So let's see what we got. We're not loading the right scene. That's why we're getting it. Let's load our chiplet. Oh, actually, no, wait, what am I talking about? This will tell us what we want. Scene, perspective, perfect. See, look, the traverse here? Bam. So what we want to see here is there should be like a type or something type, perspective camera. Awesome. So now what we need is a regular expression. Oh, well, thank you, Cloper. Again, I appreciate that. That means a lot to me, and thank you. And likewise, that's what I hope to do. Again, we're not at the follower stage here. We're at the cultivation stage. I'm trying to get, I mean, the last week has really just been a technical shakedown, right? Like actually getting the stream to run for the amount of time I needed to run and resolving the technical difficulties, figuring out what the limits of my hardware are, figuring out what I can handle as a schedule. That was one of the things I realized is I kind of overbooked myself initially. I kind of ran out of energy and time and at the end of the week. So now we're gonna try to kind of perfect things. So what we want to do is go down until we find star camera. Like we're gonna look. Let's do a regular expression. JavaScript regex. I forget how we do this, but I believe it's built right into the string type, right? Oh, we can just do it like that. Okay. Does everyone understand regular expressions? This is a super important aspect of programs. Super, super, super important. You will use these all the time. If you've done any Perl programming, you know all about it. Most languages these days kind of default to the Perl regex standard or syntax, right? And oh yeah, no problem, Pleb. Come on right back. That's a great idea. I'm gonna have to grab myself some coffee. So regex stands for regular expressions, and what that means is just basically a string that is a formatted string that is interpreted to identify other strings. So when it finds a match, it'll find. So we don't want to just look for. We could say, is it orthographic camera or a perspective camera? We don't really care right away for now. Right now, we're just trying to find the camera. So we're going to use a regular expression to find any camera, the first camera we find, and return it. And we'll know whether we want to use a perspective or orthographic. Yeah, oh, a little recap of regex. That's a great idea. Yeah, so here, let's look. So patterns, like let's see, look at the definition they give us right here. Patterns used to match character combinations in strings. That's actually a perfect definition. I don't know if you could really add that. So the regex is a pattern that will follow. It starts at the first character, goes to the next character, next. It just goes character by character, and as long as it fits the pattern, it will keep going. The moment it stops matching the pattern, it says we're done, and that's what we found. Or it will get to the end of the string and not find any matching to the pattern, in which case it doesn't match, right? So we'll show you how it works. The syntax here in JavaScript is really nice. It looks like it just looks. This is like very Perl. Usually you will see this // That's a very common syntax, and this looks like this is just syntactic sugar over creating a new regex object. It's funny they call it exp. Usually it's regex without the p. But so let me show you how this works. So what we want to say is we want to match, for example, any at the beginning, which is where are we? We want to match basically any number of strings at the beginning as long as it ends with camera. So let me show you how that works. This is actually pretty easy. But yeah, regular expressions, super important. So let's go here. We're going to say var re equals, and I think that will work. So at the beginning, we want any number of characters, and at the end, we want camera. See what I'm saying there? So this is usually means force it to start at the beginning. So we're saying at the beginning, we can have any number, but it has to end with camera, and that's what that $sign means. So let's see if this actually matches. That's what I think I'm saying. That's what I think I'm saying. Am I actually saying that? Let's find out. That's what I believe I'm saying. The thing with regular expressions are they're always a little tricky. It's a meta programming, right? It's like it's a domain specific language for matching characters. So here, see, this is matches beginning of input. So this would match like A at the beginning. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Has a different meaning as it appears a first character in a character set pattern. Oh, well, we'll get to that. C matches end input, but this is very common. So this would make sure that this is T at the end. So we'd make that, this is correct. This is correct. This should be correct. So we're saying any number of characters at the beginning as long as it ends with camera. It doesn't matter what it starts with. It has to end with camera. If it ends with camera, then that's the right type. So we say if, what was the syntax for matching? Actually running the thing, did they show us? Okay. The script uses exec method. Okay, so exec is how we find it. We create the RE and we exec it on a string. And then it returns a list of results, it looks like. Because again, keep in mind, the regular expression, you don't know exactly how many, you can't predict exactly how many matches it's going to have. And that gets into whether you want greedy, it's generally called greedy matching, which means that greedy means you're going to take the first available one, whereas lazy matching means don't worry about matching it until you've tried all the combinations, right? Well, again, and that's kind of advanced topic. We won't talk about greedy or lazy, but that's actually look in the Camel book. If you really want to understand this stuff, the O'Reilly Camel book will drill it. It's probably one of the best treatises on this, which is the Perl book. But you don't need to understand the rest of Perl. The regular expressions in Perl are pretty much standard everywhere else. The way they work in Perl, you'll see, is the way they work everywhere else now. That was basically built. Perl was built to do regular expressions from the ground up, essentially. Okay, if you want to construct a array, yeah. The last match card. So I see. So look, in this one we had multiple matches, right? And you can also group matches. We don't really care. We just want to know if there was a match. So let's see what we get. So we will say try this. So we're going to get 3 of these. We're going to do this 3 times because it's traversing, and it's going to be an empty array, empty array, empty array. Then we should see something there. Let me just see if this does what we want. That was bugging me. I didn't like hard coding that camera. Yeah, may I have a sip of that green tea when you get a moment? Thank you, assistant. Oh, nope. Nothing to repeat. What is that? Invalid regular expression. Let's simplify it. We don't really need the rest of. We don't need this. We just need it to end in camera. And you'll find that when you're working on, what was that? Oh, that's okay. When you're working on regular expressions, you usually have to play around with them. It's not uncommon at all that they don't work the first time you try them. It doesn't work the way you expect. There we go. See, look, null camera. No. I found camera at index 11 of perspective camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. See? Perfect. That's what we want. So as long as it's not null, we've got what we want, and that's our camera. That's what I wanted to check. So we can say if results I'm just making it explicit. Okay, so here's one thing I don't like about this. There's one thing we should probably, here's a design issue, right? We should use generics. We may not find a camera. What if we don't find a camera? Right? This is going to return null. We can't just assume there's a camera since we're finding it, right? So there has to be null. The problem is, this is kind of unwieldy. Checking for null everywhere is kind of a pain in the butt. Really what we want to do is wrap this up and we want to make a generic thing called maybe. So like maybe object 3D, like it would be something, let me show you an example. There's another, this is like the functional way of doing this. If we could do maybe object, right? This type would return either the object or null. But the point is you have a wrapper that you can take. You don't have to check for null. You can just always know that maybe object is going to be safe. Does that make sense? It adds the type safety. You don't have to check for null. So that's not a good idea to check for null. For now, this is actually a vast improvement over what we had. Size, so right, find camera. What do you want to say? Camera equals find camera scene instead of that. And this should work just fine now. We know this won't fail, right? So, but we do want to add a, right here, like, let me add a to-do. right? We want to check for a null camera and create default if not found. For now, we won't worry about that. Let's see if this still works. And then we'll update our scene to use the appropriate scene. How you hanging over there, buddy? Hiding under the blankets I see there? And again, sorry for this little diversion here. I just wanted to fix that. That bugged me. And then we'll get back to our texturing. Material mapping is that? What are you doing, Mimi? That's pretty good. Nope. What did I do wrong? Scene traverse. What would I do wrong? Is this right? I think what's happening is I'm returning null when I don't mean to. I didn't think this would ever return null, but maybe it is. Results, if results equals not equals null, return object 3, else return, oh, I get it. I don't want that, because that's causing it to. We just want it to do nothing unless it, right? Yeah, because we're inside the traverse. Let's see how that works. I think actually what we want to do, oh, that's fine. That's right. Well, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so the notion of equality. Okay, so the variable results contain it. What are the variable results? Let me go back to what you're saying here. Can you recap a little react? What variable results contain in the find camera? Right, okay. Results either is null or it's an array. If it's an array, yeah, it's either null or an array. That's what I was getting at here. If it's not equal to null, this is, I think that will work here. But generally, when you're talking about equality or inequality in JavaScript, you want to use the triple version. And because that one's a little more type safety. The notion of null, this is why I was saying you don't really want to use null, like, you know, check for null explicitly. You can avoid it because JavaScript, the notion of equality is a little bit different. Like, do you mean, are they the same object? Do they have the same value? Is it, watch here, actually. Such a good question, we're going to have to look it up. So if you say JavaScript, like, I don't want to get it wrong. I want to make sure that I am not put my foot in my mouth. So here it is, the comparison of logical operators. So the description here is this is equal to, and we mean exactly equal to, right? Of equal value and equal type, right? So this could be, this is a string and this is a value. If we care about type, then we want to use the triple one. Not equal value or not equal type, right? And I'm just using this one because it's a little bit more sensitive. It's just a little more type safe, that's all. Generally, these are mostly equivalent in most times, except, again, when you're, it'll automatically interpret this string, right? If you just use equal to, these will work, these will evaluate. They'll be the same, they'll be true, because it'll interpolate that as a 5 and interpolate that as a string if it needs to, right? Oh, I can return the results directly, right? But then we get an array. That's not what we want. What we're looking for is the object itself. The results is the results of running the regular expression against the type parameter or property of the object we got. So we traverse, let me explain, I'll explain it line by line. It makes sense here, right? But so we call find camera on the root scene. I'm just calling the scene, but it's just another object 3D, right? Now we call scene traverse. This takes a callback, which will, the object, you give it a function, and it will call the function populating every object it finds as a traverse in here. So now we know that for it'll recursively go down the entire scene, and every single time it finds an object, we get this object 3D. So we create, actually, oops, you know what? We don't need to do this now that I think about it. Because the regular expression never changes, so we don't want to keep creating it and recompiling it. These actually get compiled, is the thing. So we don't want to actually do this multiple times. That's more efficient. Now we look for the results by checking the type against our regular expression. If it ends with camera, we will get results. If we get results at all, as in they are not null, then we already found we know what we got because it has to be the camera. So we return the object that has the type that matches camera, right? And this is what I'm thinking it should do, right? But we'll see if it does. It may or may not do exactly what I think it should do. That's what I'm thinking anyway. But you notice here it was getting an undefined, something undefined and then calling aspect on the camera. So the camera wasn't loaded properly. There we go. Bam. So game.js 44. What is that? See here. That's weird because look, we're logging it. It is a camera. We log this right here and we return it. Let's try this. I got it. Went. Now the problem with this is going to match the last camera, right? I'm just taking. Oh, oops! I'm going to take it out of the traverse. Because this will keep matching. Oh wait, no. If results not. No, this will do the first one. And then, wait, do we want to return there? Because I think that'll pull us out of the traverse. We want to stop traversal once we find the object, right? We don't really want to keep going. So I think this will work. Let's try that again. Because what we want is the moment we find it, we want to return. I don't know if that's, yeah, if that should return from this function, this callback, right? There's no other function to call. Oh, see, that's the problem. I got it. The traverse function here is going to go no matter what. So this will work. Wait, I don't know if there's a way to short circuit the traverse once you've got what you want. That's what we got to figure out. For now, we don't care. You see what I'm saying, though? Because the traverse is doing its thing regardless of our scope, our function scope inside the traverse doesn't really go outside of, it doesn't go into the traversal. It only knows about the object that it gets at each step. And so we don't really have any way to control that. If we wrote our own function, we could just say, we could take care of that. But I think this might fix it. There we go. So it does. Very good. Not awesome. This will create a bug at some point. I guarantee it. And we still get this thing. This is from the camera. That's just the camera controls. Okay, very good. So let's load up our chiclet instead. And then we can, all right, I hard-coded in here somewhere. Get rid of some of this crap. Where did I put this? There it is. That actually should probably be, the scene we give it to, that should almost be like a command line. That should be like an argument to node. The whole container, the server application itself should point to that scene, not hard coding it in the code, but fix that. Hey, look at that! Right? Now it's like a completely blank texture, like it's just the absence of texture right there, right? But that's what we want. That's what we want. If it had a texture, if we put a material on it, the light would be showing. But this is perfect. And we're still getting our perspective camera. We could change that to a orthographic camera to see if that still works, but I think it will. So now we're where we want to be. Let's texture this puppy, right? Let's throw a material on it. Now, if we go to the examples here, I saw some really cool. Let's look at some of these cool materials they have, right? Grass actually looks like a kind of good one. They got for grass. What does grass look like? Oh, they use a particle shader for this, huh? I think this is done using particles. Oh no, it's not. These are little rectangles. How about these guys? These guys are cool, right? Let's do some of these. How are they doing them? Let's take a look. Aha, textures. Oh, look at that. That's kind of interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know you could do that. That's kind of neat, right? They embedded the image right in the right in it there, but that's not. That's the logo. Where? That's kind of weird, right? Because I was looking. Let's go back to the source. Texas Planet Moo, lava tile. Like, where are these things? I just want to find these things. Lava tile. Well, let's go to the. I think I got the source here somewhere, right? Let me see. Mimi, go lay down, please. Leave him alone. Aha, we do have 3 here. Good. Examples. And what was it we said? It was examples, texture, right? All right. Let's put, what was it? It was the planet moon. I like that one, right? Let's see, what was it? I think they just changed the color. Like they put planet moon on it and then. Yeah, see that? That's all like, that's what the moon texture is. But I like that. I like that a lot. That's kind of what we want. And so we had our finder here. And it was texture, planets, moon, right? See what the moon looks like. Oh, cool. Okay. It's like the moon. Regular command space for opening. What's command space? I use what's called I use something called what's the application? I use Apple, and it lets me just type like a command, like start typing the name of the what's it called here? 1 second. I will show you. Hudson, I think it's called. Oh, that's right. Here it is. If I can find it. It like doesn't have a let's log in. Alfred, that's what it's called. I use this thing called Alfred, which is an application which lets me do this. So I can just go Apple, and then say I want to start Chrome. I just type Chrome, and right now it's not working because it's following my mouse. And I'm just used to that. So they've got to go Apple. But now what's command space? Let me see. Let me try that. Alt tab works, and I do alt tab all the time, or the command tab. Command space doesn't do anything for me though, but that might be just the way I have it. Yeah, that's right. Oh, you want that thing on the window? No, I don't know if they have. They probably have the equivalent for Windows. It's really awesome. I mean, like, I use it all the time like that because I hate doing this, going down. And I hate using GUIs in general. I'm just a much faster typer than I am GUI or aper. We call that aping through a GUI in my in the background. And when you work in big iron and you do, big back-end Unix development and you spend 90% of your time on a terminal and you want to, you call going through a GUI aping. It's kind of derogatory, but. So here's the normals. That's the other thing too. We haven't done any. Do they use any? Do they use? Yeah, there's a bump mapping, right? Shiny to specular 3 smooth shading. I just want to see if they're using any bump maps here. You guys understand? Does everyone know what a bump map is? Yeah, I mean, customizing it. My environment, even though it's OS X, is not really not stock. You know what I mean? I've tweaked it a bit and added some applications and stuff like that. Now, one of the things I'm just kind of surprised, I thought there would be some there has to be some bump mapping here. So the point behind bump mapping is to add some, the latest, oh, I do. I have Spotlight. Let me see, what is, I mean, I have Spotlight. And it probably works the same way. Yeah, it's like the same thing. I've just been using Alfred for so long. Look, it does work that way. But that's, I don't know. Let me see. I suppose I could. It's just I've been using this since before OS X had it. I'm sure actually if I went to System Preferences here and went to Spotlight, there's probably keyboard shortcuts, right? Spotlight, show, it's, yeah, oh, it's just, okay, so it is command space. Why isn't that working then? Oh, there we go. See, this is a bump map too, by the way. Yeah, awesome, Clover. Well, I'm something of an artist myself. I actually hope to put some more of my work online soon. But I am very limited when it comes to digital tools. Like I never learned Photoshop. I never learned Illustrator. I never really used that stuff. I've always been a traditional. I use charcoal, pencil, ink, India ink, paper, Bristol board, that kind of stuff. Because I'm just a traditional. All right, that's the way I learned. I learned the RISD way. Yeah, a normal map. Well, bump map, that's right, that's true. Well, it depends on how you call it. A bump map is a normal map, right? The point of a bump map is to map the normals. A bump map is a type, a normal map is a more generic term for a bump map. A bump map is kind of more of a, the way you use a normal map, the way I would put it. So I'm interested, Cooper, what do you think how do you consider that? And actually, to educate me here, because if I always thought of a bump map as just a type of normal map. Or a different name for a normal map. So if they're significantly different in your eyes, I'm curious as to what the significance is there. Because help us out here. Like I said, I'm kind of new to this, but the point behind a normal map, we'll use the term normal map, is to allow you to do more detail. So the beautiful thing about if you saw when we created our geometry. Yeah, okay, that's a good point. So bump mapping is using a normal map for the purpose of adding detail to a model. You can use normal maps for other reasons in this, and that's a good point. That's kind of, Adam, what you're saying is kind of what my understanding is too, right? The normal map is just, you could say the normal, it's kind of like the difference between a texture and an image. Just texture, it just means an image that conforms to a format that a graphics engine is going to accept. Right, that's all it is. Textures and images and a buffer or an array. No difference between any of them. I mean, really, they're all the exact same thing, right? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I would say black and white. If you're talking about an intensity map, which you can, for example, in Blender, you can swap it. This is a great discussion, by the way. I love this. This is perfect. That's a displacement map is the way I would call it. Like, you can do all of this in different ways, right? There's multiple ways. The difference, I guess you're right. I mean, I see a bump map as, I would want to use an RGB normals for bump maps too. The point here is like, it's giving you information of like, we're using the RGB channels as, we're using this to allow us to put detailed information about where the light is bouncing off. Where we would normally have to put like vertices, right? We would have to model all of this stuff, right? But that's kind of stupid because really we just want to keep track of it. This allows us to, because we have 3 different maps, we can basically infer the texture here and use in our shader accommodate these. We can go in our what's it called, the fragment shader. We can go through and use these normal maps and map it. It's a good question, and we should resolve it. I mean, I want to use the correct terminology. One of the things I talk about a lot is define your ontology. We want to use it right. If there's a difference between a normal map, a significant difference between a normal and a bump map, we want to know what those differences are. And if it's just a question of terminology, then that's fine. Now, again, you can create like a bump, you can create like a displacement map. Like for an example, if you want to do texture, one of the ways, a terrain, right? This is the most common way if you would do it in terrain is you would create a plane, a four by 4, just a quad, right, with 2 triangles. Then you would subdivide it however many times you want, say by 50, and it would now you have a quad that has a whole bunch of regular vertices there all around it. Then you take your image, your image like this, and say it was just an intensity value. So it wasn't RGB; it was just like a TIFF, black and white. You could use the value, the intensity value, to say displace this to the Z coordinate up and down, and now you've got like this bumpy terrain, right? That's not at all the same thing as a normal map, right? This is for, which is for in the shader that handles the lighting, in the fragment shader, use this normal map to add a little bit more detail to the way you're doing to the lighting, right? Yes, a height map, a height map would be an intensity value. But again, you don't have to use it that way, right? It's all kind of like how you use it. You normally will see a height map as, again, a black and white image, but you could have it be color. It depends on what you need your application. Like say, often what you'll see them do is you'll render, like you'll use a displacement map or a height map, same thing, right? Although a displacement map might be, again, a displacement map is the generic term for a height map. A height map implies that there's going to be height, but a displacement map could be used in other contexts. So this isn't really a height map at all. This might look like it. This is not a height map. This is a normal map because we're not actually going to displace any vertices with this. That's the beauty of it. We don't have to add vertices. We can have really the idea here is we could apply this to a perfectly flat quad and still have this look like it's bumpy and detailed and rough. Is a normal map. Yes, that is correct. Cloper, that is the right way to do it. You're absolutely right. I mean, I was calling it a bump map. A bump map, all bump maps are normal maps. Not every normal map is a bump map. Let's put it that way. I think that's the correct, the correct first order logic way of looking at it. Displacement deforms geometry. Bump and normal give you the illusion of displacement. Exactly. No, that's exactly right, Cloper. That is exactly right. I really think that for the most part, bump map is probably just an older term that is falling out of favor, and that bump map used to be used a lot, and I suspect that normal map is now the more generic term and probably the more appropriate term to use. So we will call it normal map. I won't use bump map anymore. But for example, you could use another way to use a normal map would be like skin texture, right? You can create all the little pores and stuff by using the exact same technique. And you'll see that quite often. Again, that's where the bump came from because it was usually used to add little bumps and little grit and little details to skin or metal or rust and stuff like that. It's rust maybe not because that's really more just like it's not more of a displacement thing. But I think we understand, right? But this is all great discussion. This is exactly the kind of stuff I want to discuss and we need to figure out. So let's look at what else we have for textures here. I don't think we need to get to the normal mapping just yet. Let's see if we can actually find, yeah, see here's some more normal maps, I think. See, here we go, here's a displacement. See, notice its intensity, right? It's gonna use this to kind of displace a more generic, a lower res model. I don't even know where this is, but we can find out where that is. Whereas this, and then here's the normal map, right? This one tells you which direction. The other one shows you how to adjust the geometry. This one tells you how to bend the light, how to bounce the light. That's the main difference. The one actually displaces vertices. The other simply gives the illusion by making the light bounce the right way. But it can give you the illusion of a lot of more detail. And this technique came about because, again, we didn't want to, back in the day, if you look at like Tomb Raider 1, Tomb Raider 2, like the old initial PS1 type 3D games could only really support so many triangles. You know what I mean? So you had to come up with ways of adding some detail, and this was this is one of the more effective techniques. It's used in everything now. I mean, now obviously every game you see is heavily normal mapped and bump mapped and stuff like that to make everything look realistic. Now, let me just go back to the planets. This is all Earth, Moon stuff. I kind of want something a little more generic. I'm actually surprised that this is just the Moon. Let's try the, I want to see the lava tile. Let's go back to lava. Okay, that's just that's an interesting texture. There we go. I like that. So it looks like they're using the cloud and the lava together to kind of like give us that effect. Like, watch this. Look at this skin. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, yeah, no, it's just. You know, it looks like what they're doing too. Another thing you can do is you can create programmatically. You can create the normal map from the texture, and I think that's what's going on here. Like what they're, you see, notice, look when this moves around. Let's look at the lava ones, right? When they move, doesn't it look like you can see, like if you touched it, it would feel rough, right? If you look at our original texture, it's not like that at all, right? There's no roughness or there's no information there, right? However, you can use this texture as an input to create a normal map on the fly, and I suspect that's what's happening. That's what's giving that bumpy appearance, that normal map appearance. And I can see the camera is like spinning around, so that, yeah. Oh yeah, and in fact, you can see the difference here. Look, this one has no normal map. This one has a normal map. You see the difference? You see how this one looks just like flat with no texture on it, and it looks like if you touched it, it would just be a smooth with the texture over it. And then this one's shiny and bumpy. That's the difference. This one with the normal map. And so let's see how they generate that normal map. That's actually pretty interesting, I think. So we have our scene. Let's create our, let's first of all, let's put our lava tile there. Each texture wrap repeating, that makes sense. I wonder, you know what, I suspect that you can probably just give it a argument saying make a bump map for this. Assume it's 3D and make a bump map, right? I have a feeling that's probably what's going on somewhere in here. Let me see if we can find flat shading. Let's see if we can find where they do this. Oh, maybe it is kind of automatic because I don't see where they're making the bump map. So notice the other thing here too is that we can create multiple materials from the same texture, which makes sense, right? We don't want to have to load multiple images in to do the same. If it's going to use the same source, we can just use the same source. The repeating, all this repeating stuff probably isn't necessarily what we want for ours because they have a, it's mapped on a sphere. But for now, let me just do this. I'll have to show you this erosion demo someday. I really want to pull, this thing is awesome. Pretty neat. Actually, one sec, let me show you. This is really cool. I want to steal this stuff. What is it? WebGL erosion demo. This guy is great. I love his demos. Okay, watch this demo of this. We're going to do something like this. Okay, now just watch. Right? Doesn't look like much yet, right? But look, we're starting to see little pools generating, right? Look at, because there's let's add some water. Like let's do some erosion here, right? Oh, water. Where is it? Add. So where's our brush? But the point is, what you see what's happening here. I know some tools like Substance Painter can draw normal maps, but they also just bake in real time. How do you just play? Yeah, so that's what's happening. Is it's baking. That's a good point. And he's talking about the process of baking. That's what I was getting at. Look at all the flows, though. Isn't this awesome? Notice all the erosion and all the dirt, and then once the dirt's there, it starts getting green on it because plants start growing. And there's evaporation and erosion and rain and everything going on. I love this demo, and I want to with this I want to make a game world out of this someday. This might be a project we do. I want to steal this and redo this and make this into something a little bit more gameable. But I love this demo. I just love it, and the code is really well understandable. Use oops, I lost it. But I'm not going to suck up that much. I'm sucking up too much resources here, but. Check that out. Isn't that cool? Yeah, they do I don't think it's a good idea to paint it manually. It depends on your application. Most normal maps are baked, like you suspect. And by baking, we mean taking a texture and using that as the input to generate a normal map by just looking. It looks like at the edge, it does edge detection, I assume, and just kind of there's a specific, we'll have to look into, there's a specific process for doing it. But it's pretty easy to bake normals. And I think that in the code here, we will find that that's what they're doing. And again, bake just means that generating a texture from something else and baking it in. Like another way they make, for example, normal maps is by in Blender you might make a detailed model that is like super detailed, super fine detail with every little nook and cranny, everything modeled to the point that your computer can barely handle it, right? And then you bake that into a texture that becomes a normal map that you map to in your game. The same model, but reduced to the level of detail down to, like, say, a tenth of the normal or a hundredth of the number of vertices. But it will look almost exactly the same because you baked the normal map into it, and it'll take a fraction of the resources. That's the whole point. And we will end up doing stuff like that, I'm sure. But for now, what we need to do is, first of all, let's get our stuff in assets. Enough. Okay, so we load our tile. Now let's just hard code it. I don't really care. Let's do this and start. Seems like it'd be a pretty good place to do this. I'm going to hard code it just to get the tile. I think it's, what did we say it was? There's the mesh. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Children. Now, and that's really one of the things, that's where Unity and Blender and all that stuff is for baking normal maps and generating normal maps and level of detail and all of that stuff. They have all that great functionality for doing all that stuff. We'll get into that. My game's really simple right now. I'm just basically thinking of tiles of stuff. And right now I'm doing it in 3D because it's actually easier than doing it in 2D. But we may want to do an isometric. We may want to do a top-down. We may want to do whatever we want to do. So now I'm just using a 3D perspective to help me kind of navigate my scene. Probably won't be what the game ends up being. That's okay. Quite all right. So if we come back here, we're going to let's create our texture. Those load texture, perfect. I'm going to call this lava texture. I think these values are probably fine. Oh. Not here. Where are they adding? Oh yeah, the shininess. Okay, let's add a little. We do want. I think I want a little shiny on this. I think we do. Okay, so the other thing here, as you can see here, we're setting the repeat in the wrap. Now, this basically means how do you repeat the time? You know, how are you going to repeat it? How are you going to wrap it? For the most part, these values are set up to basically be anisotropy. That's what it is. Anisotropy. Anisotropy is how does it blend as it. Okay, if images, if they get farther and farther and farther away in a perspective, you get this weird, you get like a bug, basically. If you don't blend it, if you don't blur it a bit as it goes further out, it doesn't look right because the textures will stay crisp as they far. So you really kind of have to do this little bit of blending and blurring as it goes far away. And this just automates it in the engine. We can do it ourselves, but thankfully we don't have to. So we're just saying, just do it, and the level we want to do it is at 16, which is probably a perfectly fine. We can tweak these values, but this is, again, all stuff that we would set in the GUI in Blender. If you look there, there'll be equivalents for all of this in Blender. I just don't know what they are. I know what they mean. So let's create, oh, this is kind of cool. So shininess is 50, specular 5, shading equals 2 shading. That makes sense to me. We're only going to have one material, so we don't have to worry about that. We're just creating a couple values so that when we actually create a new Phong material, there. Interesting. So where are we using? It's interesting. Who's using the Lambert material? This is it, right? They're making 3 versions of it. And they're changing, it's just a question of changing the, I got it. I believe probably the Phong, whether we use Phong or Lambert determines whether it's going to, let's try Lambert. I know what Phong does, but I think Lambert is better, actually. See, here's where we actually generate the spheres. Now let's see, where do we associate the one of the things I'm not quite sure is how do we associate the material we create? See, this is, we could have just done, kind of actually prefer to see this here. Bump scale, aha, where are we using that bump scale? Oh, good. Notice this. Actually, we want to do that. It's okay, this is where it happened. We're going to use the Phong material. This was the wrong way to do this for what I wanted. You see why? This is it. Boom. Perfect, right? This is where that automatic bump mapping happens. We say all we have to do is give it give the same image to the bump map property, parameter, and it's going to automatically generate one when we do the Phong material. So beautiful. That's just what we want. So we see obviously too the difference between a material and a texture here, right? It becomes more obvious, I think. Bump scale, we have a bump scale, right? Yeah, color, white, that's fine. Specular, we have specular, yep. Shininess, yep. Shading, shading, excellent. And if you excuse me, I like to kind of like, I tend to like this. A little easier to read. Okay, so we got a lava material. Now, well, let's look where they use materials. Interesting, Gander. I'll have to figure out what that means. Yeah, particle light, very well. This is interesting. Geometry. Oh, yeah, sure. Um, how do we attach a mesh? So we want to, wait a minute. We want to look at mesh. Is there a way? See, here's the problem, right? I think we just ran into a problem because if we need that, did you notice there that the material, the way you assign the material was on the constructor? See why that's a problem? Constructor was called implicitly from the scene definition, basically. So hopefully there's a way to attach a material after that, and I can't imagine there would because wouldn't be because the way OpenGL works is it's like it's immediate time rendering. Like you issue a command and it does it, right? You know, so there's no reason you couldn't do that in OpenGL. So I suspect that there's a way to do it. But let's look at mesh. Okay, it looks like we're gonna have to get the geometry and create a new one, huh? That is really kind of a shame. Could always create a new one. Well, let's get at the underlying geometry. Let's figure out how to get at the underlying geometry. So, we already have a mesh. It's got the mesh basic material. I wonder if we can just assign the material. Let's try this. Let's just try it, right? What happens if we say tile see what happens there. I don't think this will work. I think that's broken, but we'll try it. Worst case scenario is we have to just kind of delete the object, get the... Oh, okay. The three values like shininess, reflection, or whatever it was, basically description of the material. Why do you need the extra material? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't... It's not just that. Oh, look at that. It doesn't work. Don't work. Hey, you know what? Is that even? Oh yeah, good. It is doing it. It does have the bevel. Okay, no problem. Because watch this. What we'll do is we will get at the underlying geometry, because we can say 3, second one, the mesh geometry, right? So all we got to do is tile geometry. So again, the geometry here under the hood is the actual vertices, and I believe normals. Yeah, it'll have UVs, normals, all that stuff I think is in there if it's in the geometry. That's basically the underlying mathematical definition of the object. Absent materials, how we're going to texture it, how we're going to skeleton, we're going if we're going to have bones internally or skeletons, or we're going to distort it, and all of that is not involved. It has nothing to do with this. This is just the underlying geometry of what we have. So so what we really want to do now we have to delete the object. Let's look. How do we get rid of an object? We can remove scene, right? We say scene. All right, let's try this. Look at my example again. Where was it? Right here, right? Yeah, new 3 mesh, easy enough. Geometry material. So we want to build it with the tile geometry and then use the lava material. And then we'll scene, let's see here. It is remove, I believe, or drop, or send add and drop, right? Oh no, it's object 3D. Everything is an object 3D. Add, remove, okay. So we can say scene remove. Well, actually, that's okay. Scene remove. This might not work because I'm afraid the geometry is going to be gone, but this looks right to me though. Or you know what we'll call this? Lava tile. Lava tile. Everyone seeing what we're doing so far here? Oh, traverse ancestors? That's nice. I didn't even know we had that. That's very helpful. First visible. And good things to know. See how messed up this is. Totally messed up. Image texture not defined. Oh yeah, because I had a, that's okay. I did a cut and paste wrong. Yeah. So what we're saying here is just make sure the S and T wrap is the same, which means top and side, basically. We're assuming a texture is a 2D, so top and how does it wrap? For our purposes, I don't think it'll matter much. It'll be interesting to see because I don't know. If there's no UVs, this might not work at all, right? We might have to tell it to generate some might have to add some. We'll see. But I think this actually might work relatively well. Okay, but we would have to compile first. Oh, yeah, keep doing that. This is actually charging though, because the reasons it's breaking are perfectly good. Oh, wait a minute. It doesn't just find the file, that's okay. Hey, okay, so interesting. Look, it's weird. Why did it do that? Right? Why did it like Oh, I get it. No V. Okay, I didn't mind. So with no UVs, the software won't know how to display it. Right, exactly. If there were no UVs, I think that's why part of the problem we're getting here is that it's just kind of defined. Well, actually, look, the UVs look right for the most part, because right, like I mean, not the UVs, but the normals are correct, right? We know the normals are fine because just look at it. The UVs I think are missing, which is why even though it's finding the texture, let's look. Is it finding the texture? Yeah. See, it's not finding a texture. I think that's the main problem. Texture is lava. Okay, that's why our problem is. But we can fix this. D, just lava. You're under acids. See if this fixes it. I think it will default too. If you have no UVs, it might try to just do something, you know what I mean? Assume that you want one, because 9 times out of 10, you want 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, right? If you're mapping the whole texture to a whole face, that's all you're going to need, right? It's very simple. So I would default to that in lieu of anything else. I would actually, or you could project it, right? Well, one thing we might want to do is just project it down so that the bevel, but then it'll stretch a little bit on the bevel, right? So really what we want to do is kind of, we're going to have to, I think to get this right, the bevel perfect, we're going to want to, and notice actually it's really smooth. Like we don't get the hard edge, right? We're not getting a hard edge there. That's the way the shader's working because the normals, it's because of the normals and because they share a face. If we could make these all faces separate vertices, this would be a hard one right there. We can tweak that. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. I don't even know how it's going to map normals, right? Or whether it generates them by default. This is all experimental. What I find interesting is that it removed, so it looks like, this is one of the things I was wondering about. So when it squashed the tile, that was a transform. That was in the matrix. It had nothing to do with the actual vertex information. And I was wondering if that was the case, if it baked it, like that's another issue of baking. What we really wanted to do was to bake those UVs, I'm sorry, bake those vertices down into a model, but they were actually modified. They did it through the matrix transform, which is not a bad way to do it, honestly. I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But it's interesting. Now we know how it works. So let's get this thing getting its actual, let's see if we can get it to pick up the tiles properly. Why is that not found now? Okay, where do I load the tile? Lava. Is it not copying? Let's look under client. Oh, it's not copying over. Image lava. It is copying. It's just we gotta go image lava. Fair enough. Yeah, the UV should be in Blender. That's what I'm saying. Well, no. Well, maybe or maybe not because we didn't really texture it. It should have some. Keep in mind we don't have to use UVs, right? We don't have to use them at all. We can just assign color to a vertex and provide no UVs. Which is a perfect, that's actually how, if you look at old school games before they even used UVs, that's how they would do it. I mean, some old games you can see that they're just simply using vertex coloring. And you still see it all the time. Vertex coloring is used all the time because it's much more efficient, faster, tighter data structure. You don't need to carry textures around. So where it's possible to use vertex coloring, you probably should. So we don't have to do UVs at all. It may or may not have UVs. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to figure it out. But yeah, UVs, if they're not there, they're easy enough to generate. Very easy to generate. Because we can basically look, this bevel is like a certain percentage of, like if we just map the whole texture to like the top without bevel, the bevel is what, like X percent, and we can figure that out, we can calculate that. So that will allow us to say, okay, UV, that little slip on here, and then the little slip on the edge, and then the little slip, map those to the bevels, and then map it in a little bit. Yeah. Again, I think the default behavior will do what we want. That's what we're going to try to find out. There's so many different ways to do this. Do it in Blender. We can do it programmatically. The engine might do it automatically. Blender might do some defaults automatically. All of these are possible. We got to figure out what exactly is happening and what we need. But the UVs generally, again, the whole point of the UV is we're taking a two-dimensional texture, well, one-dimensional, two-dimensional, n-dimensional texture. We'll assume two-dimensional for now. And we're using like barycentric coordinates to say map this, when you get to this vertex, this XY coordinate, it maps, this vertex maps to this XY coordinate in this texture. This vertex maps to this XY coordinate in this same texture, this one that way. So we can basically arbitrarily assign any section of any texture we want to any particular face, and we can stretch it out. We can squash it. We can do whatever we want simply by adjusting the UVs. Yeah. And likewise, you can wrap. I think you're right that we can just wrap this texture. Well, really what we're telling it is just wrap, right? And I'm hoping that actually that'll do something fairly appropriate with the bevels. The wrapping might take care of it for us. Does that make sense? Why is that not found? Oops. No, it won't do that for me. What was it? Let me look at something. I don't know. I'm not sure why this isn't. Whoa! Oh, I know why. The JPEG. JPEG. It's a JPEG. All right, so let's quickly update our gulp file. Copy images, right? Can we just do this? I think we can just do this. How you doing, buddy? What's up? Can I help you? What's up? What can I do for you? Yes, in a bit, buddy. I'd be happy to. I'm going to take a quick break and a bit here so I can make my buddy a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But it will only be about 5 minutes. JPG? No, not you. Not you. Excuse me, hold on. Let me just make sure I did this somewhere else. Where's source? Maybe that's not the way to do this, but I think so. I'll be right with you, buddy. Thank you. Thank you, kiddo. Like, how do you do multiple source paths? That's what I want to figure out. Globs. An array of globs, okay. Provided glob and array of globs, good. I just want to make sure that was correct. So this should be fine then. And we can prove that by coming back here. No, we could have done it. Let's try this. Tree. What did I do wrong? Should be right. Try it again. Too much technical speech for me. In my world, you play around with the UV texture editor until the object unfolds. There's no distortion. You're happy. Exactly. No, you're absolutely right, Cloper. 9 times out of 10, it is easier to do it that way, right? Because you don't care exactly what the UVs are. You just want it to look right, right? Right? You don't care. It doesn't matter. And that's generally the way it's done. For a chiclet or a tile or a cube or something like that, it's just the UVs are so obvious that you can just do the math in your head. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right. From your and Clipper, you had so much to teach me because I don't. That's the stuff I don't know how to use. Like I understand exactly how it works under the hood. I know how you would calculate it mathematically to do this stuff. You know, actually using Blender to paint and map UVs on texture, you know, from a texture onto a model. That's where I don't know how to do it yet. I mean, I understand the principle, why you would want to do it, how you would do it, but I don't understand how to actually ape through the GUI to make it happen. That's what I got to figure out. But it does all the interesting stuff. You're absolutely right. This is the only reason we're kind of doing this manually right now is for A1, so I can understand how what the baseline assumptions of both Blender and 3 are. 2, it's to just help me get into the my headspace of how this stuff works. And 3, again, it's just so simple that we don't really need I'm 3 because I don't know how to do all that stuff in the IDE yet. That this is really the only way I know how to do it. So we will update all that though. There's no question that this isn't the this is not the user. And right now, again, I'm just trying to shake down my use. You can see it's even my build isn't just quite right. There we go. Boom. All right, we're in good shape now. And we're running, right? Yeah. So let's try this again. I want image. I want the root. Look at that. A little better. Not quite the texture we expected, right? That's kind of interesting. What do we have? Let's see if we probably have some errors, right? Warning. I suspect that this is undefined material where. Oh, that's when we load the scene, yeah. See, there's no material and it gets angry about it. Yes, I said I would help you, buddy. Hold on one sec, please. I'm not at a great spot to stop. I will in a minute. But we got something on there. What's interesting, oh, you know why that is? You know why it looks like that? I'm sorry, excuse me, and not, as opposed to it's not mapping the texture, but I think if we look at what, we set a color here, a default color. Specular right there, right? That's what that is. We don't have UVs. I think that's the problem. Let's look at the actual tile. So it doesn't know how to map it, right? Normals, position, here's our problem. Do you see any UVs there? I don't. So it has a texture, it creates some material, but because there's no UVs, it doesn't know how to map it. So let's go back, and maybe what we want to do is go back into Blender and see if we can generate UVs for a bogus texture and not worry about it, right? So at least the UVs will be in there. Maybe Cloper, you can help. Maybe you can help us figure this out in Blender. You think you can help us figure this out, how to map a texture? We'll pull up the documentation. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to do like a BRB for less than 10, hopefully less than 10 minutes. I will be back by 2 p.m. Eastern time here, and we will continue the second half of our thing today. And again, Cloper, if you have any input on this, or Adam likewise, I mean, if anyone has any input on the texture and how the best way to do this UV mapping, we'll get into that. We'll do that. So I'm just going to put my mic on mute here for a bit, and I will be back. If someone comes in and says, hey, what the heck is going on, I would appreciate it if you would say, hey, he'll be right back. He's getting us on a PVJ. So thank you. I'll be right back. no audio. Sorry about that. And Cloper, I understand. Let's what I was saying is let's pull up the let's pull this Blender UV mapping, right? Couldn't be any more. Noob to pro, UV mapping basics. Now we don't even really care what texture, right? The basics of UV mapping, I get that. Right? Mark a UV seam. I get it. So in edit mode. So we're gonna, okay, I get it. So what we want to do in edit mode, oops, we right click, shift, right click, shift, right click, shift, right click. So now we have, like, for example, here's one face, and we can just take any texture. Thank you, good to be back. So really what we want to do, I think for now, the simplest thing, since this edge, like look at that edge is really not that big of a deal. I think we can just map the texture straight down. We want to do a projection map, right? Directly down with the texture that's a square texture, just map it right down. And we want to do that, it's going to be the same for all faces. So this is pretty easy, I think. This is going to be a simple one. We'll worry about the fact that the mapping doesn't work. So unwrap the mesh. To create a window for the UV mapping, click and drag the small lined area to the top. Wait a minute. Create a new window for the UV mapping, click and drag left the small lined area. Okay, I assume they mean small lined area in the top right corner of the 3D window. What's that? Oh. Whoops, oh, look at that. Anyways. Next, create a window by click and drag left. Click and drag left. Does that mean left click and drag? Smaller. Well, let's just create a new window, right? Can't we just like create a new window? Oh. Oops. What am I doing wrong here? Faces. Oh, we want flat faces, right? Sharp edges. Kind of curious. I screwed up the normals, I think, there, but I was just kind of pointing around. So we want to create, let's see. Oh, yeah, unwrap, right? UV map. A non-scaled version of mesh. That's okay. So where do we get the unwrap now? Let me see here. So how do I create a new window? That's the simplest way. Thus, right? And now let's go to UV editing. Right? Hey, look at that. Right? I love it. So now, actually, we're going to kind of want to create, see if we can even just get one top. I'm going to open an image. Doesn't really matter what image we use, does it? For a sample way to do this, select your object, press tab to get the component mode, press A to select everything, and then use the left side, there's the shading UV map, then select drop down smart UV. Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, we're just doing cube. Ultimately, all we have here is a cube with a bevel, with a scale and a bevel on it. So ultimately, we're just working with a standard cube under the hood, right? So let's try your way of doing it. So select your object, press tab to get into component mode. What is component mode? Let's see. You mean edit mode? Yeah, gotcha. That's, I mean, in their parlance. Select everything like that, yeah. The shading UV, smart UV. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly what we want, man. That's ideal. Interesting. Whoops. Whoops. Hey, no, don't do that. We had everything. Oh, you gotta actually. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Wait, no, everything. 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 All the things I'm missing here. Okay. No worries, no worries. I mean, again, the exact words we use don't matter as long as I understand what we're talking about. So now what we would want to do is let's see if we can pull up that image, right? Alt O. Now that's not what we want, right? How do we, so what we want to do, I mean, they do some smart thing here, right? We just kind of want to, what I want to do, you know what, for now, that's almost like fine. I don't really care. Let me think about this. This isn't going to work, right? It's not going to look right because it won't be seamless. To make this seamless, is this texture actually seamless? Doesn't look like it. But we don't really care. So it won't be pretty. Yeah, edit mode, sorry, and A, yeah, for select everything. When you export the object, it'll write the information side. Not sure what to use. Oh, I've been using, let me show you. So let's save this project so far. Yeah. Because this isn't perfect, right? This is a terrible UV map, right? I mean, it's not what we want, really. Really what I want to do is map this to, like, or what I really kind of want to do is, let's see, I want to kind of map, I want to make this UV bigger. How do we want to do this? We want to do like a wrap, a seamless wrap, but this is fine for now. It's just a cube. We don't really care. We just want to get some UVs generated. So let's file, export again. Materials, cameras, UVs. See vertex colors. If we just want to use vertex colors, we'll do that. I'm going to do face materials just in case. I think that needs to be there. I would think. Cool. Let's see if this works with the textures too. That's kind of interesting. Let's see what happens. Like, what if it copies textures or what? Oh, oh, right. We gotta untab. I don't see why it just wouldn't do that by default. But these materials, I don't know what that means. Don't really care about copy textures, right? I think. All right. All right. Pow. Boom, pow. So now, since we're using the same, it basically should give us the same result. Materials. I want to see. Do they? Yeah, they still don't point to you to the. It's interesting. They still don't point you to the. It just doesn't include the ping. But I don't care. I mean the JPEG. But I don't care. Yep. Geometries. Actually, that's where we should be pulling the geometry from instead of from this mesh. All right, let's fix this. Let's update this now. We're getting close here, guys. I know what you meant, Cloper. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we do have Skype. Yeah, I kind of want to just figure this out here. I think we're very close, right? I think we're pretty close. I don't really care what I want to figure out. Once I get this working at all, Adam, no worries. Again, all I speak is English, but I welcome everyone. And no matter what your level of English is, I welcome everyone here. You know, I do my best. I know I speak rapidly too, and I will try to slow down. I know not everyone is from the States here, and not everyone's English is not everyone's first language. So I do need to remember to speak more slowly at times. I believe. Let's just see what we get for this. I think we're going to get at least we're going to get some texturing. It'll probably be all banged up. Nope, we do wrong. Interesting. It spits out the entire source. Not read by fragment shader. Oh, okay, that's okay. It's saying a default. One of the vertex shader has a this world position is not being used by the fragment shader, but I thought it was just that it didn't have UV, but that might not be the case. That's quite all right. That's okay. I'm kind of the same way with Spanish and French. I took many years of Latin in high school, and I lived in neighborhoods where pretty much English was not spoken. So I can pick up a lot of Spanish when I hear it, but I can't speak it at all. And likewise, like I can read like Spanish advertisements, I can understand what they're saying without a problem. But for some reason, I can't. That doesn't translate into me being able to speak Spanish. Kind of the same thing. I can pick up a little French when I hear it, but just a little bit. I took French like 4 years in a row or 3 years in a row in high school, and just never. I had a really bad teacher, and just never did too well with it. But enough that I can kind of understand a little bit. I love the language. I wish I spoke it better. I wish I did speak it, both Spanish and French. I wish I spoke, but I might have to. That's one of those things I will have to get into. So if we look at our scene, let's see what we got here. Let's look at oh yeah, here's our problem. First of all, the orientation has changed, right? So now we're doing the wrong thing. That's kind of why I like using that traverse. The camera was right, but the mesh is wrong. Oops. Yeah, that's usually how it goes. I mean, it's kind of cool. In Boston, I've worked in Boston, and it's kind of one of the things I like about working in Boston is that no matter where you work in IT, you just hear all these different languages. Like, I mean, there's always a few like people from India. There's always a few people from like Hong Kong. A few people from everywhere where you work, and you just hear all these different languages constantly. Great. Not like that everywhere in this country, but Boston's very international like that, almost European. Boston and New England is kind of almost considered a part of Europe by the rest of the country. You know what I mean? Not considered very. It's not at all. In we don't generally jive with the rest of the country. We're a little more European in general. Oh, there we go. Look at that. We totally wrecked things. But we're not getting errors like we were before. Hmm. Honestly, I had no idea, Adam. I could not have. I would not. Your English is perfectly serviceable. I mean, you speak better English than most, English-speaking Americans that come in chat. Quite frankly, so I wouldn't worry about it. You'd be surprised how few people in the United States grew up speaking English can actually speak English, as the rest of the world understands it. I should say. Uh-oh. What happened there? That's not right. It's a cube. Geometry. Where are you? There it is. See, so this is the right, yeah. Let's see. Offsets, raw cells, bounding sphere. No UVs. Right? No UVs. No problem, like Cooper. Grab yourself a beer. Grab yourself a cold one. We will wait. We will be here. So let me look at this a little bit closer. Now that we have a perspective camera, we have a mesh, and our point light. Oh, maybe it's the fact that the point light's not, like, you know, we're overriding the point light. I think that's our problem. 0, 1, no. Why was that? Okay, now I'm screwing everything up. I think I got messed up here. Wait a minute, what is this? Is this the one I... That's the problem. It's going to the wrong place. That's okay. Move to the track. Let me fix. So one last thing to fix here. That was indeed one. We just were looking at the wrong scene. Cheers! Clink. I don't have a beer. It's too early for a beer for me, but I don't drink very often. I'm kind of allergic. I break out in handcuffs. Look at that! Oh! Not right, but it's... And look, the bum map is working, I think. Loper, thank you. We're no longer applying the... I think we want to add... We want to... It's a little too dark, right? We need a better... we got it, but that's a function of the light, not our material. Yes. It's a small victory, but it's a victory nonetheless. And actually, this is what we have achieved our objective for today. This is what I was hoping to do, is to create some sort of texture with some sort of normal mapping, you know, whether it was automatically generated or not. This is actually pretty good. Let's update the light. I think we want the light to be a little bit. I wonder, too, if the exporter is deterministic or not. Is it always going to be in the same order? Will it modify it? Is it non-deterministic depending on, you know, certain factors? I don't quite. But yeah, right? Success. And actually, it doesn't look too bad. The default normal mapping doesn't look as terrible as I expected it to. You can see here it doesn't line up. That's like where we would have had one of the edges, right? Yeah, now we got to make it really low, right? Hey, Elak, welcome. We have a new viewer here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are just trying to figure out how to get stuff textured here. I'm saying, Elak, if you've been here before and I missed you, I apologize. I thought you were new. If you're not new, then that's my fault, and I apologize. Welcome, either way. We are playing around with exporting crap from Blender into 3JS and getting everything textured. And so far, so good. Not really. We didn't need a ton of code to do all this. We did the mapping. Basically, what we did is we did the mapping here in Blender. And we did a quick UV map. Actually, this is a chiclet because we, let's pull this off since we're not. Pull the bevel. Oh, no, not the bevel, but the scale. The scale. Good one. That's fine. We're ignoring the scaling. So, Actually, what does this look like when we render it? Huh. It doesn't even take the textures. Oh, that's because we're not even doing any of the bump map. I mean, we're just not really doing it. I don't know why that's not working. I don't really care. Like, oh, so it should be just one. Should be just one value. Well, yeah, the bump map. I think. What did we say? We said it was one. Let's look at. We can play around with that. I don't know that we like the scale. Like, let's see what happens if you do 0.1. I don't know. This is a good idea. This is a good test. Thank you. That's a great idea, Cloper. Like, they're using one, but they're wrapping it around spheres, and who knows? We're kind of just messing about. And I think also too the light we're using. They were using a. We're using. Are we using a point light? We're using a point. They were using a point light too. Oops. Let's see how this affects it. Oh yeah, you're right. That is way better. I see what you're saying. Interesting. So what happens if we put it to 10? Curious as to like we did it 1/10. Let's see what 10 times equals. We'll jump up and down in order of magnitude and see what it looks like. I think you're right. The bump scale wants to be smaller than 1 though. This is probably going to be really ridiculous actually with 10 though. Very handy, Cloper. Thank you for that. That's all. Right now, I'm just basically experimenting. Whoops. Oh, yeah, look it. You see what it is? See that 10? It decimates it, doesn't it? That's pretty neat. That's actually a neat effect. So you can decimate it. You see what I'm saying? By putting 10 in there, if we go back to our value of 0.1, it'll like be much nicer because it'd be much higher resolution. I believe, anyways. My build is running really slow. Oh no, it's the same. Doesn't look any different, does it? That's interesting. Close enough though for now. Figure that out. Yeah. I think it's still a little too strong. Let's try 0.001. I'm not exactly sure how that scale affects it. And we might actually want to do, I don't know if I want I think we want to do, I think we want a little more specular shininess. Let's go to 2. Oops. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Yeah, it was a little, it's not quite subtle enough. I agree. It's like very in your face. Ooh, yeah, see now that looks a little better. Notice that, like I said, it's kind of like stretchy a little bit on the edges there because the UV map is not, the bevel is not it's not baked into it. That looks pretty good, honestly. I'm pretty happy with that, to be perfectly honest. Not exactly what I wanted, but it's pretty close. This is all wrong, right? And you can see how it's stretched, and really, I know what we want to do and how we want to do it. We're gonna have to play around with that in Blender. That's pretty awesome, though. This is good. I'm really happy with this. We can create multiple ones of these guys. The other thing is too, one side will always be mapped properly. Like this stuff is mapped properly up there. This is mapped. From this side, we actually have the light on the wrong side. From this side, everything looks great. From this side, we start seeing the seams right here because it's mapped this way in Blender. Where is it? Let's get out of our render. And where was our, edit mode. Bam. And now see, this is a seam, 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 seam. But that's okay. But over here, no seam, no seam, no seam. So if you're looking at this corner here, everything will look great. If you look at this corner, it'll be all messed up. So now what we should probably do is figure out like how to do this. Like we don't have a material assigned, right? So we did this extra mapping. Right? Don't we have where is what this is, that texture? Uh, yeah, we were no, we it's not. Oh, right. And where do I sign this texture? Like there's what I don't get is okay. So I have this texture here. I open this image in the UV wrap. So now we've got our UVs generated. I assume that's what this text is, right? Mapping, UV mapping, linear filter. Okay. Type, image or movie. Um, oh, interesting. I don't know if I want to save this, but okay. Sampling, image mapping. I think we are doing repeat. Don't care about custom properties, but I do care about all the oh, see, yeah, that's not right. Right, we're doing a projection straight down. Actually, that's kind of what we want to do, but just from different. The wrapping is not right. What did I have before? Coordinates generated. Oh, yeah, this is another one where we can object global. I got to look into that. Projection, cube. That'll probably, yeah, or sphere. If we do sphere, it'll look great on a sphere. Right. Let's go to here. RGB to intensity. We don't care about any of that. Diffuse, shading, specular. I think I'm getting a handle of this. All right. Mm-hmm. So to add an image map, a normal map. Filter. Cube. Fair enough. Now we do want to mess with this to get the shininess. Trying to figure out just basically how to do the equivalent of what we just did. Can't see the effects in real time. Oh. Oh, I see, yeah. I got it. Now, map. Go back to UV mapping, right? Generated. Oh, wait a minute. UV mapping, that's what we want. Oh, fine. Where was the, fine. Okay, buddy? What do I do that bump map? How do I tell it to do the bump map I was just doing with the, let's look back at the code I was doing. So here I can just tell it, give it the bump map lava texture, normal map, right? And it will generate a normal map automatically out of this texture. So assume, oh, texture, probably my problem. Transparency. Thank you for bearing with me while I try to figure this out. I think what I probably need to do is add a, I think I need to probably add like another map or generate, I probably need to bake it. It's just not automatic in Blender. I'm not sure. I am not sure. Okay. I know it's like something simple down here too. Like I've seen this done. I don't care about subsurface scattering. We don't not move. I don't care about any of that. I realize actually this is probably covering up crap. I don't care about mipmap really. Oh, it does repeat at least in one direction though. Look at that. Didn't look like it did to me. But it does. It is a repeating texture. Okay, well that's pretty cool. So if it's a repeating texture, then really what we want to do is just kind of map this, scale this down and keep repeating it for each one, and then figure out how to map it. Oh, no worries, man. Not much. Yeah. You watch me banging my head against. You missed me banging my head against Blender trying to figure out how to repeat what I did in the in 3JS. But never fear. This is a good start. I'm not really. You know what I want to do though too is let's the light. The light is just not good enough here. Our lamp. What is our see something. We have our texture. Oh yeah, see look, we're pretty close. We just don't have the bump map. And it's kind of screwed up. But so where was I? Blender. You missed some Blender stuff. Yeah, it was the lamp I was looking at. Okay, inverse square. Let's do inverse linear. It's gonna be brighter. Oh, I don't know if I want to say that. Better. All right, let's mess with it in here. Okay. So what do we have for our perspective camera point map? Intensity 1. 10. Cool. That's all cool. Give a kind. I'm actually really happy we managed to. Hey, yeah, see, there you go. Watch. Actually, you know what? Keep the distance 10. Let's move this to 300. I think that actually is. Hey, Clipper, I really appreciate your help today. It's really, really helpful. I wish I knew why 3GS was oh, the vertex, yeah, well positioned. We got to figure out why that shade is not used. Probably because I'm doing something stupid. About the same. Doesn't matter. So distance and intensity. Oh, that's okay. Wait a minute. That doesn't make sense to me because we're using a you know inverse square fall off, right? So adjusting the intensity and then the only in linear should distance and intensity be interchangeable. In inverse square, you should see something different. Well, anyways, that's clearly not right. So let's just go, instead of 1, I think we want like 2. The distance isn't probably going to matter. It should be just like twice as bright. Do some 3-point lighting too. Better. We're good. Lava cube. Lava cube. So what I'm thinking is what I'll do is we're going to create a couple tiles. I'm going to keep using this little tile thing. We'll create like a tile. We're going to create like a lava, like maybe some grass, some dirt, some rock, right? We kind of need a couple of those. What I would really like to do is kind of paint them by hand at some point. Those textures. I think like drawn, painted textures would look better in our particular application. Trying to think of a good example to show. Any event, let me look at our code here for a second. Excuse me. Oh, I get it. When it's touching a app up there, it doesn't, like when it's second monitor. Cloud, I'm not too worried about. Lava tile, JPEG. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh. Our Blender file, which is probably all kind of hosed by now, but whatever. We're not using that texturing. So we get rid of this. Basically, get rid of all of these, right? I don't care about that. Don't care about the AU, right? Oops. Don't care about that. We have our lava tile, our tile JSON. This is our scene. Our tile blend. We can get rid of that. Like a save file. A gulp that has been changed. All right, let's check this in. This is good. We'll keep our Blender files as under the common assets. Or no, wait, is it under common? That's fine. Oh, cool. Look at that. It's like a, didn't know what to do with it. So it's like, sure, binary. Okay. So what do? We added a texture image. Exported Blender scene. Oh, wait. Exported Blender scene. Updated build. Include JPEG. And assemble. Updated game logic to texture example model. Example method. Right? That sounds about right. All right. It's been a couple days. I've been doing a game. Been doing some game casts. All right. I feel like I've gotten about as much out of Blender as I can today. Let's see. What else do we want? What do you guys say? What do you guys want? It's, oh, wait a minute. You have a JPEG. I know. We could just export that. We could just tell it, I think, to just make it a ping. Kind of an interesting texture because it's definitely a mixture of multiple textures, right? Is it really? Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it really is repeated. That's awesome. So as such, really, what we want to do is map it. Like, we can map it to each, the same image to each. Really, we want, like, you know what I mean? Let's see if we can do that. Let's go there. Let's go there. Right. If we go to edit mode. Hey, what? Oh, tab. Right. How do we do this now? Right. We want to scale the whole freaking thing. Oh, wait a minute. How do I? That's one thing I'm wondering. It's like, how can I say I want to map the same? What I really want to do here is map the exact same texture to every face. That's really what I want to do. Instead of having this like this, really what I want is for the texture to be image. I assume probably just scale this stuff, right? Try that light map something. What's the light map something? What I'm thinking, what I want to do here, what I really want to do is take this this image, and scale it down to the size of exactly one face, and then repeat it for every face, because it's a seamless texture. How we do that? I've seen, now this is kind of goes the exact opposite of what I've seen every texture imaging thing works, right? It's a UV method where each face is separate. Yeah, oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's pretty much what I'm talking about. So what we have to do is basically map each face independently, right? Sounds like instead of taking the whole thing in Smart Wrap, let's try that. So what we would do is kind of delete all this stuff, right? Right, here's our face. Oh, I wonder if there's a way for me to make it snap. You know what I mean? Now the problem is this isn't like exactly isn't perfectly even, right? But that's what I want to do in principle. Called an island. One selected, press Control P. On UV tile. You know, the other thing we could do is obviously repeat to just create an image tile that's what do like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's exactly what we want, and then do it the other way. But so a UV tile called an island. So interesting. One selected, press Control P. What's Control P do? But that's about what that's kind of what I want to do. Now, can I do the same thing here by like, yep. Don't think I'm doing this right, but I'm just trying to experiment. I will have to look up that island thing you're talking about. Right, okay. Just, I know this is going to be exactly perfect, pixel perfect. I'm just trying to curious if this is going to like, am I doing, Cloper, does it look like I'm doing the, like, something totally stupid here, or is this like, you know what I mean? I feel like this is what I want to do. I'm just not sure if, and I'm sure that there is an automatic way to do exactly what I'm doing. This is such a basic thing that I bet you it would be like, there's a one button you can hit that'll do all this. But this should be close enough. Enough for government work, as they say. Okay, that's good. Did I get all of them? Except for the bottom? Yeah. Okay. But it's not accurate. Control P will make it accurate. Oh, I see. Oh, thank you. I see what you're saying. That's what I was looking for, actually. Control P. I'll just go through all these. Oh, wait. Hey. Oh, that's all right. I'll figure it. We will figure this out. No. Quite right. It doesn't seem to, it's interesting. It doesn't seem to make it like Control P kind of, I'm not sure what Control P is doing, but it's not quite. Oh. Hmm. Let's see what it looks like. In the UV window, yeah. See, look, It does, I mean, it adds, oh, is that because it's adding a 1 pixel edge around it or something? Is that what it's trying to do? It'd be smart. No, that's still diagonal. That's not quite right. I hate that left, I hate that marker. Is there a way, there's gotta be a way in Blender to just completely disable that. Oops. So let's see what this looks like. If I render this right now, is that, you think that's gonna, see, it's still showing the old way of map. It's not mapped. It doesn't seem like, how do I apply this, I think is the problem. Like I've done this, but it doesn't seem to have taken. Cube projection is what I wanted to do. Ah, okay. Thank you, sir. Try that again. No, see, it's still look, it's still kind of, that's not straight. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I'm sure you're right, and I'm just messing something up here. But I don't care if it's perfectly accurate, really, right now, honestly. Can I help you, buddy? You're sighing and heaving and hawing and hemming and hawing over there. Is there something you need from me, or are you just being... I'm happy to help you. Just let me know. I need to sulk, though, if you need help. Happy to help you out. Sure, my viewers will understand. So now, how do I actually get this to take? That's what I don't get. I've mapped it the way I want, or close enough to the way I want that I'm happy with it. We've got the texture map. I feel like there's something I'm missing here. I wonder if the UVs actually might work better. I mean, the UV should be 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1 for every face, right? They're very simple. It should always be 0, 0. Because I don't know, is it my understanding is that this is like barycentric, right? 0, 1, 1, 1. Or sorry, I'm sorry, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, right? Are the coordinates, the UV coordinates we want. We don't care about the actual pixel. It's going to translate that across. It'll interpolate that to whatever the image width is, right? I don't have to know exactly how many pixels it is. But then sometimes it is. I think you can do it either way you want, either way. But I don't really care about anti-aliasing. I don't get, what am I missing here? Why am I, like, I feel like there's something I'm missing. There's like an apply or a do this, like, apply it, because it's clearly not taking this mapping when you render it. It's not the same, it's just the same old mapping we've always had, right? It's not the new one. So is there like something over here I need to apply that with? Creating UVs. Yeah, I see. Oh, let's save this for now. Sorry. And let's see what happens if we, I just want to see what this changes what we got in our other one. What do we got? Almost 3 o'clock. So I'm going to do this for another hour and 10 minutes or so. I'll bang my head against this and for your amusement. And we'll see if we can get some other stuff. Let's see if that changed our mappings a bit. Like, let me look at the UV. What do those look like? 0.3, 0.3, 0.6. It's exactly the same. Didn't take any difference in terms of the UVs. That smart unwrap seems to have just been. Yeah, it makes sense because look, it would be divided up by 3. Look at the math, makes perfect sense. 0.3, 0.333, 0.6667, 0.16667, right? That's exactly what we saw. Because before when we had that, it's still showing the so whatever we did with this this UV mapping, we just did had basically no effect on anything. And I don't understand that why. Is it that I had to be marking seams? I mean, it seems to me like this. Right, there it is in the UV, that's right. What am I doing wrong here? Because now this, instead of being 0.6, this should be 0. Like, and again, when we export that, I would expect those UVs to be different. Do I need to like bake them in somehow new? That's what I don't get. View projection. Right. Maybe I need to mark seams. I need to select all. Well, okay, I see. Well, let's try that. Oh. Okay. Why don't we get this face? Do we get this face? Not getting that face. Here we are. No, is it me or are we not getting that bottom that bottom face doesn't show up? I'm in edit mode. How do I select that bottom face? I thought all I had to. All right, let's try this. There is no face on the bottom there anymore, apparently. Right? Look, it's gone. Me, or is there just no face there? Is when we can select this, 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 this. Yay, we have it, but it's only selecting edges. There's no face here, apparently, on the bottom. Well, let's not worry about it. We have that. So now that I have all these, I have them all in edit mode, and it's got all of these things. These are close enough. That's pretty thing. Oh, that doesn't change it. I still need to do something else that I'm missing. Arc seam. Nope. Seam. Oh, it is really hard. Again, Clipper, someday we'll do a, we could do a Skype or something. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm just kind of figuring this stuff out. If you want to do one, I'd be happy to, actually, if you want to do a Skype, I can do that. I'm just the bot sloth. I'd be happy to have you. Join me. What is going on? There we go. Delay is like, is it all up to a minute? Oh, hey, what's up, PD guy? I think I missed him yesterday. We were thinking about doing a multi-stream. If you want to jump in, feel free. I set up Skype, and I am the debauched sloth. It's pretty easy to find me. I think there's two. Might be two, but I'm the. Now my mouse, now things are acting really weird. I wonder why it didn't take the bottom. Still not curious. I'm still curious why that. No bottom on this. Go back. See, I guess what I'm kind of a little. I don't quite understand how this crap relates to this, like to this UV mapping. Like it looks to me, you can find everything you need right here. So I'm not kind of curious as to what the relationship is. Which one is more important? Which one overrides which? Which one? How are these related? You know, I don't have the faintest clue. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is why I hate GUIs. I've already figured all this stuff out. I could have done this by the math is so easy. I don't know why I'm kind of doing this by hand. I mean, why I'm doing this through a GUI. It's 0, 1. You know, I know what the coordinates are going to be. They're going to be the same for every face. So it's like, how hard is it to go through over the cube and do this programmatically, right? But figuring it out, it'll take me hours to figure it out the first time in a GUI. Then I'm going to forget it, and I'll have to spend a half hour the next time figuring it out again. And then I'll have to spend 15 minutes of time after that again figuring it out. And eventually I'll be able to do it, you know, in a minute or two, but only after we go through successive half-lives over and over and over again. This to me looks like something that's way easier to do in code than it is to do in a GUI, but you know, again, that's me. Because I just still don't know what's going on here? Why doesn't it take it? I assign the vertices, I know what it is, but it's just nothing I did has any effect on anything, right? It doesn't have any effect on the actual rendering or anything underneath it. Hold on. Love your icon, by the way. I love that. I love your profile pic there.
Hey.
How's it going, man? Can you hear me? Is it
I
push to
can't
talk?
hear you.
You can't hear me? Hold on one sec. Whoop. Wrong button. Sorry. Wrong button. Sorry about that. Let me try this again.
Is it working now?
I can hear you. I'm
I
trying to.
have very strange. Well, this is slow. One second.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Can you no?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
What the fuck? I can't hear you.
I can hear you. Let me see here. 1 second. I'm not on mute. Just hear strange noises. I can hear you, yes. I can hear you, but you can't hear me. Let's try a new mic. Let's try a new. Oh, wait a minute. Holy crap. I have multiple mics here. I didn't realize that. This is one thing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have an interesting thing. I have something funky going on. Yeah, okay. Probably some
Test, test. No, still just very strange noises and very loud. Not sure why.
How's that, everyone? Better? Am I back? I think that should work. Yeah, the problem is Apple. Again, if I had a Windows gaming machine, I would be using it. Um, it's funky because the way it works with Mac is you have to use this thing called Soundflower, which is like a router. So you let me show you actually. Yeah, good. I'm glad I'm back. I don't need this anymore. Like, see here, you have to. I have to route it to Soundflower, which then in OBS, infinite Sean, infinite debauch sloth, right? Where is it? You got to, you know, you got to the out like the desktop out to get your desktop out audio working. You have to use the thing. Anyways. Oh, I don't need this anymore. I really don't need that. Yeah, Cloper, if you want to, if I'm driving you nuts and you just want to send me an example of like the right way to do it, feel free. I would really appreciate that. My email is debauchsloth@gmail. By the way, feel free to email me. I mean, that email is like fairly public. I don't mind if people ping that. Likewise, I'm on Twitter or wherever you want to hit me. You know. An example, I would appreciate it. I would appreciate an example of how to do that. Yeah. Like, but this is so awesome. This is what, hey, who else do we have? By the way, Dragon Blade, thank you for showing up. Nice to see you. And Apple is kind of the problem. I don't know what, you know, the thing is we've done, if you're looking back in the history of the streams, maybe, I guess if someone bought me the new iPad, I would definitely get the pencil. I mean, yeah. I mean, rather than like the Cintiq that costs like twice as much, why not? You know, if it costs $1,000 to get one of the new tablets and a pencil, Apple Pencil, that actually probably is more utility than the $2,000 Cintiq that lets you draw on it, right? So yeah, absolutely. If it's the best solution to do what I want, I need to start doing some digital drawing. But I can't. I mean, all I can do literally right now, what I do is I draw on pencil and paper and take a picture with my phone, bring it into Photoshop and play around with it. Look at that. I didn't even know you could do that. Where it sent it. There are new things every day. There it is. Awesome. All right. Where did you go? Excuse me while I just move stuff around.